He wanted Japan to rise. He wanted Japan to make a statement. He wanted the world to know it. Made in Japan. This young man was expected to take over the 14 generations long family business, but instead he followed his passion for electronics. This is the story of Akio Morita and Sony and his management principles that are still valuable today. Akio Morita was born in Nagoya, Japan in 1921. He was born into a family business producing sake, miso and soy sauce. Akio's father had high expectations for him, being the eldest child to take over the business. But Akio chose differently. He convinced his father to pass on the legacy to his sibling. As the days passed, Akio increasingly became fascinated by electronic experiments, and later he developed a strong attraction towards mathematics and physics. When I was in high school, my father bought me an electronic phonograph. The sound was fantastic. I was so impressed that I began to wonder how and why such a sound came out. That's when my interest in electronics began. He graduated with a degree in physics from Osaka Imperial University in 1944. Later, Akio joined the Imperial Japanese Navy as a sub-lieutenant to serve in World War II. Here, he met Masaru Ibuka, his future business partner and co-founder of Sony. Post-World War II, Japan was miserable and suffering. The economy of Japan was hit and was in ruins. Their humble beginnings took flight in Tokyo in the basement of a department store that was barely in pieces, following the bombing of the war. Here, Ibuka established a radio repair shop. Later, Akio, 25, partnered with Ibuka with money lent from Akio's father. In 1946, they co-founded Tokyo Tushin Kogyo Kabushiki Kaisha, translated to Tokyo Telecommunications Engineering Corporation. They began with 20 employees. As Japan was occupied by the American forces post-war, one day, Ibuka came across an American with a device that he was familiar with. He believed his company would excel at producing this particular device. It recorded audio on plastic tape cassettes. After heavy experiments, the duo successfully manufactured and sold the very first tape recorder to the Japanese market. Also, Akio came across the invention of the transistor in America and was adamant about partnering with the company that had acquired the patent. This would cost Akio and Ibuka $25,000. Akio's decision kept the company on the verge of bankruptcy, but surprisingly, he was very optimistic. In 1955, they manufactured a transistor radio and became one of the first companies to introduce transistor technology. 2 years later, the iconic pocket-sized radio was introduced. Ironically, this pocket-sized radio was a tad bigger than the usual pocket size of a shirt. Akio, being smart and sensible about the odd occurrence, provided his employees' shirts with slightly larger pockets to illuminate a pocket-size appearance. Even though they successfully manufactured the radio, Japan did not have the money to purchase these products. The only choice was to opt for an international market with the vision of taking Made in Japan to a global scale. Akio decided it was time to change the name of their business to a name that would be pronounceable in any language. Finally, they came across Sonus, meaning sound in Latin, and the company was officially named Sony. A few difficult turns later, a distributor agreed and began selling Sony in the American market, and they loved it. In 1961, Sony was the first Japanese company to sell its shares on the New York Stock Exchange. By this time, Akio had launched factories in the United States and Europe and simultaneously ran operations in Japan. Akio lived by the rule, 2 steps ahead of the competition. He kept up with his belief that if a company cannot compete, it is destined to sink. This way, he was always the market leader when introducing new devices. His rivals soon realized that Sony is here to make a statement. Following Ibuka's retirement in 1976, Akio proceeded as the chairman of Sony. 3 years into his advancement, Akio revolutionized products from transistor radios to television sets, Walkmans, Discmans to VCRs. It had to be something different, something that nobody else was making. Akio also evolved from 20 employees to 100,000 employees. He often adapted international methods to business, but his love for his Japanese roots enabled him to access the Japanese culture and their leadership methods. I believe people work for satisfaction. He created a solid foundation to maintain a relaxed atmosphere for his employees. Akio aimed for a family-like environment and encouraged creative thinking. He emphasized teamwork and believed his workers should never be treated as employees or mere tools of the company. He catered to their needs and attended to them personally and treated them as fellow human beings. He even mentioned that school records are not important to success. Akio was a firm believer that the fate of Sony lies in the hands of its youngest employees. He believes the youngsters, energetic and enthusiastic, will shape the future, and therefore it is compulsory that they are well catered for. I have always made it a point to know our employees, to visit every facility of our company, and to try to meet and know every single employee. Akio was humble and down to earth. His simplicity guided him to industrial supremacy. Simultaneously, he made it a point to understand his consumers on a much deeper level than just reading a book by its cover. Just as he catered to his employees, he often camouflaged in the community to comprehend consumer trends. Akio's willingness to adapt to change was projected when he began selling internationally and decided to move to the US for 1 year. He simply wanted to get into the mind of the American people. With his outgoing personality and friendly charisma, he began socializing and hosting parties every week just to gain access to the American way of living. He compared his findings and merged ideas from the Western and Eastern cultures and manufactured unique products that fit both markets. Akio believed that the taste of the consumer will continuously change and Sony must keep up. Akio was awarded an honorary British knighthood, and he was also awarded the first-class order of the Sacred Treasure from the Emperor of Japan. These are two out of the many awards he received for his exceptional service in the industry. Throughout his incomparable journey of accomplishments, he accumulated a net worth of $1.04 billion. This remarkable and honorable man dominated industries with a startup consisting of just 20 employees. His ultimate goal was establishing Made in Japan across the globe and to build back Japan's reputation, and he managed to do just that. He influenced the world so much as Made in Japan became a symbol of pride.
You have done so well in so many of your products, but it's nice to have you with us today. We'll look forward to having that camera out.
Today, in our world, many innovators are following the legacy he left behind, including Steve Jobs. Thank you for watching, and see you soon.